Have you ever looked up at the night sky and wondered what happens when the stars fall asleep? Most people believe the stars never rest, that they shine forever without pause. But what if I told you that once, on a very unusual night, the sky itself went to sleep, and when it did, the world below changed in ways no one could have ever imagined? This is the story of a boy named Eli, a girl named Leora, and the night the sky decided to close its eyes. A story about courage, friendship, and the simple truth that even the brightest lights sometimes need a little help to shine again. The village under the sky. Eli lived in a quiet village surrounded by rolling meadows and tall, whispering pines. The kind of place where the air always smelled like freshly baked bread from the stone ovens and laughter echoed through cobblestone streets. The villagers lived in harmony with the rhythm of the day. They worked by sunlight and they dreamed under starlight. Eli was small for his age, with messy chestnut hair and wide, curious eyes that always looked upward. While most children played games of tag or chased goats across the pasture, Eli preferred lying on his back in the grass, tracing constellations with his finger in the air. "Why do you always stare at the sky?" Leora, his best friend, often teased. She was taller than Eli, bold and quick-witted, her long dark braids bouncing as she walked. "Because," Eli would reply with complete seriousness, "the sky is alive, and one day it might talk back to us." Leora laughed every time, but secretly she admired his imagination. For Eli, the stars weren't just dots of light. They were guardians, storytellers, and companions who kept watch when the world slept. But one night everything changed. The night of silence. It began like any other evening. The villagers gathered around lanterns, mothers sang lullabies, and the air buzzed with crickets. Eli and Leora sat on the hill outside the village, waiting for the first star to appear. "There," Leora pointed, "the North Star, right on time." But as the night deepened, something strange happened. The stars, one by one, flickered weakly. Instead of twinkling brightly, their glow dimmed and dimmed, until the sky above became a vast, heavy curtain of darkness. The moon, too, looked tired. Its silver face grew pale, as though it had yawned too many times and finally surrendered to slumber. "Eli," Leora whispered, gripping his arm, Where are the stars?" Eli's heart pounded. He had watched the night sky his whole life, but never had it looked so empty. It was as if someone had blown out every candle in the heavens. And then something even stranger. The silence, the usual symphony of crickets and owls, vanished. The village lanterns sputtered as if drained of energy. A cold hush spread over the meadow, and for the first time Eli felt the weight of true darkness pressing down. The sky had gone to sleep. The world without light. By morning, the sun still had not risen. The villagers stumbled in confusion, holding lanterns that barely glowed. Without the sun, the air grew chill, crops wilted in the fields, children cried and elders prayed. "What has happened?" the baker muttered, kneading dough by candlelight. "It's the end of the world," shouted the blacksmith, but Eli felt something different. It wasn't the end. It was exhaustion. The sky was tired. "Leora," he said, pulling her aside, "the stars didn't die, they just fell asleep, and if they're asleep, maybe we can wake them." Leora frowned. "Wake the sky? Eli, you sound crazy." "Maybe, but isn't it crazier to do nothing and let the world freeze?" Leora sighed, then crossed her arms with a smirk. "Fine. If we're going on some impossible quest, you'd better promise me one thing." "What?" "That you won't give up halfway." Eli grinned. "Never. The journey begins." The children packed supplies, bread, dried apples, 2 flasks of water, and Leora's lucky compass. With a final wave to the worried villagers, they set out toward the mountains that loomed at the horizon. Eli believed if they climbed high enough, they might find the place where the sky rested. The journey was long. Shadows stretched endlessly, with no sun to guide them. They passed forests where trees stood like tall, frozen statues. They crossed rivers that reflected only darkness, as if the water itself had forgotten how to shimmer. At night, when fear crept close, Eli would whisper stories of constellations, of Orion the hunter, Cassiopeia the queen, and Lyra the harp. Leora listened quietly, comforted by his unwavering belief that the stars were not gone forever. One evening, after walking for hours, they stumbled upon a glowing creature perched on a rock. It was no larger than a rabbit, yet its body sparkled faintly, like a living ember. "What is that?" Leora gasped. The creature tilted its head and spoke in a soft, musical voice. "I am a dream keeper, one of many sparks left behind when the sky closed its eyes." Eli's eyes widened. "Can you help us wake the stars?" The dreamkeeper's glow pulsed sadly. "The stars are trapped in slumber by the chains of forgetting. Only those who carry courage and kindness in equal measure can break them." "And where do we find these chains?" Leora asked. The dreamkeeper's ember body flickered, pointing toward the tallest peak. "Beyond the mountain lies the sky's cradle. There, the chains tighten with each passing moment. Hurry, or the sky may never awaken." With that, the dreamkeeper vanished, leaving behind a trail of faint sparks that lit their path. Trials of darkness. The climb was treacherous. Jagged cliffs cut their hands, icy winds bit their skin, and hunger gnawed at their bellies. Yet Eli refused to stop. At one point, they reached a cavern where whispers filled the air. Shadows slithered across the walls, forming shapes of doubt. "You are too small," one shadow hissed at Eli. "You are just a boy who stares at the sky." "You are too weak," another sneered at Leora. "Your courage is only an act." Eli trembled, but Leora grabbed his hand. "Don't listen, they feed on fear." "How do you know?" "Because," she said, raising her voice defiantly, "if they were right, we wouldn't have made it this far." The shadows screeched and melted away, defeated by her conviction. Later, they crossed a frozen bridge, where ice cracked under their feet. Eli almost slipped into the abyss, but Leora caught him just in time. "You saved me," he gasped. She smiled weakly. "That's what friends do. Now keep moving." The sky's cradle. At last, they reached the summit. Before them stretched a vast plain of clouds, glowing faintly like silver cotton. In the center rose a giant crystal cradle, and inside it lay the sleeping sky, an enormous figure made of stars and moonlight, curled as though in peaceful rest. But wrapped around the cradle were dark, metallic chains, each link pulsing with whispers of despair. "This is it," Eli whispered. "How do we break them?" Leora asked. Before he could answer, a booming voice echoed, "You cannot free the sky." From the shadows emerged a colossal figure, cloaked in black mist, the Keeper of Forgetting. Its eyes glowed like dying embers, and its voice dripped with disdain. "The sky has rested too long. The world will learn to live without light. Leave, children, before despair devours you." Eli stepped forward, his small fists clenched. "No, the world needs hope. The stars kept watch over us for centuries. It's our turn to protect them." The keeper roared, shaking the mountain. Chains rattled tighter around the cradle. Courage and kindness. The battle was not of swords or fire, but of hearts. The keeper hurled waves of despair, visions of failure, loneliness, and fear. Eli nearly collapsed, but he remembered the villagers' faces, their laughter, their songs. He remembered how the stars had guided travelers, comforted children, and inspired dreamers. "No matter how dark it gets," Eli shouted, "light always returns, because hope lives in people, even in children like us." The chains quivered, a faint crack splitting one of the links. Leora joined in, her voice steady. "And kindness gives that hope strength. We're not here for ourselves. We're here for everyone who has ever looked up and believed in something greater." With those words, the chains shattered one by one, glowing shards dissolving into sparks. The keeper screamed as its form unraveled into nothingness. The cradle rocked gently, and the sky stirred. Slowly its vast eyes opened, brighter than 1,000 suns, yet tender as dawn. The awakening. Light flooded the mountaintop, rushing down valleys and rivers, spilling across the world. The stars stretched and yawned, twinkling once more. The moon smiled warmly, silver glow restored, and with a burst of gold, the sun rose for the first time in many days, painting the earth in color again. Eli and Leora shielded their eyes, laughing and crying all at once. "We did it," Leora whispered. "No," Eli said softly, gazing at the sky, now awake and alive. "We just reminded it why it mattered." The sky's great voice rumbled gently, like distant thunder made of music. "Children of courage and kindness, thank you. Even the brightest lights sometimes forget their purpose, but with your hearts, you have awakened me." And just like that, the sky stretched high above, returning to its eternal watch. Homecoming. When Eli and Leora returned to the village, the people cheered and wept. The baker's ovens glowed again, the blacksmith's forge roared with fire, and children ran through fields bathed in sunlight. "What happened up there?" an elder asked. Eli only smiled. The sky was tired, but it just needed a reminder that it was loved. From that day on, every time the stars appeared, the villagers told the tale of two children who braved darkness to bring back the light. And though most people thought it was just a bedtime story, Eli and Leora knew the truth. The sky could sleep, but hope would never die. And so, dear listener, remember this: even the brightest lights can sometimes grow weary. Even the strongest hearts can forget their own power. But with courage to keep moving forward, and kindness to lift others when they fall, we can awaken hope, not just in the sky, but in each other. Because beyond the sky went to sleep, two children proved something timeless. That light once shared can never truly fade.